Hello, my name's Chris Dees. I'm just a regular guy, is what it comes down to, and I'm an atheist. Over the past few months, I try to casualize atheism, and I found that whenever I go out and hang out with my friends and stuff like that, we go to any social events such as bars and go out to eat, things like that. And I found that there's a lot of people that misunderstand what atheism actually is, and it's kind of disheartening because I can go approach people and just start talking to them, and they'll be like, "Hey, you're that guy that's like super atheist, aren't you?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they start asking me all these questions, and I'm just kind of like, "Well, that has nothing at all to do with atheism, actually. Why are you asking me this?" Of course, I don't ask them that, but I'm just kind of like, "Well, let me explain this to you." And it gets kind of emotional sometimes in the bars, I guess you could say. It gets a little bit heated, but yeah, so today I'm going to be giving you this little presentation to maybe clear up a few misconceptions, stuff like that about atheism. So here we go. By the end of the discussion, hopefully, these are the goals that I'm hoping to accomplish with y'all tonight. That's the scarlet letter A, by the way. We're going to figure out what it means to be an atheist, what that actually means, how common atheism is, what atheists can believe in, and the emphasis on the can, and I'll explain that to you at the very end of the discussion because that's actually something pretty important. And we're going to clear up some misconceptions, talk a little bit about the future of atheism, and finally just have like a little Q&A session or whatever. So, what is an atheist? An atheist is somebody who does not believe in any gods. That's about it. It is a single position on a single question. Do you believe in God? And if your answer is no, then you're an atheist. Atheism in itself is not a worldview, but it can be part of a worldview. Atheism is not a worldview, and theism also is not a worldview. Many people, for some reason, especially here in Mississippi, I guess, since like Christianity is the majority, what the majority of the population believes down here, they tend to think that atheism is the exact opposite of Christianity, when that's not the case. Atheism is the exact opposite of theism. But theism has subcategories, and so does atheism. So let's check those out real quick. Christianity, Islam, and Hinduism are all subcategories of theism. Rationalism, naturalism, and secular humanism are parts of atheism. Now, yeah. Here's a few labels that atheists might prefer. Most of y'all are probably on Facebook. If you've ever added a new friend on Facebook, you probably basically stalked their profile for a little bit, see exactly what they are, who they're about, that sort of thing. If you've seen any of these labels underneath their religious views, then they're probably an atheist. Atheist is the label that I use on my Facebook. I'm very open about it. Free thinker, skeptic, secular humanist, or just humanist, rationalist, naturalist, and non-theist are also labels that we use. I prefer to use the term atheist because it's one of the most misunderstood terms out there. People immediately, for some reason, when they hear the word atheist, there's this stigma that's associated with it, and it's kind of bad. People think that atheists are just bad people. Well, I'm not a perfect person, but I'm not the worst either. So I try to use the label atheist and make it casual, so people are like, hey, whenever I think of atheist, I don't necessarily think of a bad person. But those are a few other labels that you can use. Here's some symbols that are associated with atheism. The white symbol right here is actually the happy human. That's what the humanists usually use. The American Humanist Association has a symbol. Their logo has that symbol in it, not this exact one, but the happy human that's in the white circle. The scarlet letter A was actually created by the Richard Dawkins Foundation for Reason and Science in order whenever they started to make their OUT campaign. Coming out as an atheist can be fairly hard, especially if you live in the Bible Belt. With that said, there's actually a few parallels between the atheism and the homosexuality community, the LGBTQ community. Coming out can be pretty hard for both of us. But once you're actually out, things can tend to get better. This last symbol is for American Atheists. It's a non-profit organization within America that promotes secular values, separation of church and state, and stuff like that, trying to make atheism more common. But what about agnostics? Here's something that I've actually noticed that's been going around that's pretty frequent as well. a lot of people say, if you go up to them and you say, are you an atheist? Or something like that. If it comes down to the question of, do you believe in God? And they say, oh, I'm an agnostic. Well, technically you didn't really answer the question. Because agnosticism does not actually deal with belief, it deals with knowledge. Agnostic and Gnostic deal with knowledge instead of belief. So how does it play into beliefs? How do these two connect? Well, you have a little grid here. You have theism on one side, atheism on another, agnosticism on one side, and Gnosticism on the other. These are independent of one another. This particular spectrum right here deals entirely with knowledge, and this spectrum deals entirely with belief. The two axes are independent of each other. One does not rely on the other. On the side of Gnosticism, when you're dealing with atheism and theism, you can fall into the range over here. You can be a Gnostic atheist, which implies that you are a strong atheist. You can be a Gnostic theist, which implies that you are a strong theist. What this means is, in Gnosticism, a Gnostic atheist claims to have knowledge that God does not exist, and they do not believe that God exists. A Gnostic theist claims that they do have knowledge that God exists, and they believe that God exists. On the other side, you have the exact same thing, except it's just the other end. An agnostic theist is basically a weak theist. And that comes down to, I don't know if there's a God or not, but I'm going to continue to believe that there's a God. An agnostic atheist is someone who says, I don't know if there's a God or not, but I'm not going to believe in God. You can fall into any of these four categories. I like that. But this one right here, there's something special about this one as far as agnostic atheist goes. If you do not have any knowledge at all, and you do not have any beliefs at all, you would fall into this category. At one point in all of your lives, you were an agnostic atheist. There was at least one point before you were either, if you currently believe in God, before you reasoned yourself into believing in God, or before you were indoctrinated into believing in God, this is the position you held. You actually don't have to be aware of a God in order to not believe in that God. If that's the case, then that's where you are an implicit atheist. Now, an explicit atheist is basically someone who are aware that there are God claims out there, but yet does not believe in them. That would be me. I'm an explicit atheist, as of right now. Unless I forget that the God claims are there, then I'll be an implicit atheist. So, this next slide is probably going to be something that it's not confrontational or anything like that, but it may be something that gets you to thinking about a few things. Earlier when I said that every one of you were at least an agnostic atheist at some point in your life, I was being serious, but this right here maybe will kind of make it a little bit happy for you. You'll be like, oh, that's what you meant. Babies are atheists. And some people, like one popular thing I've actually heard about this, as far as a rebuttal, supposed rebuttal, is like, oh, you can't tell that baby what it believes. Well, actually, I'm not telling the baby what it believes. I'm acknowledging that it does not have a belief yet. And that's what implicit atheism is. Some people try to say, well, oh, you wouldn't label that baby a non-Republican or a non-Democrat. You're right, I wouldn't. But I would label that baby as apolitical because it has no concern for politics or anything like that yet. So who are atheists? All these people are. No, I'm just kidding. What I'm trying to say with this is to show you how common atheism is in Mississippi, at least. There's a group on Facebook, and I'd like to give a shout out to them. It's the Mississippi Atheist Experience. I posted a thing on there on Facebook, just a comment. And I said, hey, I'm giving a presentation here soon. Most of y'all I know are closeted with your atheism, so I'm not going to reveal your names or anything like that. But if you don't mind, tell me what you do for a living. So here's some of the stuff that they gave me. It ranges everywhere from busboys, which is this guy, to urologists, dentists. I mean, we're practically everywhere. Just about any job that you can think of, we're in that field. Dads, moms, online marketers, counselors, higher education, carpenters, police officers, engineers, all sorts of stuff. There are even many celebrities that you may be able to identify with that you are aware of that are atheists. Bill Gates, Brad Pitt, George Clooney, Hugh Laurie, Carrie Byron, Natalie Portman, Seth MacFarlane, and Mark Zuckerberg invented or co-founded Facebook. Speaking of the internet, have y'all ever seen this face before? Y'all know who that is?
Yeah. Isn't that David Silverman?
That's Dave Silverman. Y'all know what he is?
President of American Atheists.
He's the president of American Atheists. He was on Bill O'Reilly whenever that snapshot was taken. But yeah, like, most people aren't aware, I wouldn't say. There are plenty of people that use the internet there are plenty of people that use the internet every day, and they don't realize that they're interacting with like atheists and using like atheistic memes and stuff like that, like where they come from. I think that's kind of funny because a lot of people tend to have like, is that stigma. They're like, oh, atheists are bad. Check out this funny picture. But are there more? So the thing is, like, those were just like a few jobs that atheists have, and those were all from Mississippi, people in Mississippi. Is there any particular job title that you can think of that might be off limits to an atheist?
Besides priest?
Priest? Well, what if somebody went into a job as a theist but gradually lost faith? Do you think priests are off limits? Pastors, preachers? The Clergy Project was founded in 2011. Basically, it's an online confidential community of priests and pastors who are struggling with losing their faith. So, no, every job title, every field that you can think of can and does have atheists in it. The first graduate of the Clergy Project, his name is Jerry DeWitt. From Bible Belt pastor to atheist leader, sparked up a lot of controversy. He was an evangelical preacher for about 25 years or so. He truly believed everything that he was preaching, and slowly but surely, eventually he started losing faith. He's actually a pretty cool guy. I got to meet him last summer up at the Secular Student Alliance conference in Columbus, Ohio. Really nice guy, about as nice as you can be. Southern hospitality. I mean, he's from Louisiana, so he's just a really cool guy. But these organizations and stuff that we're making, such as the Clergy Project and American Atheists, stuff like that, why would we make that? Why would atheists do stuff like that? Is it too church-like for atheists to organize? Nah, there's some pretty good reasons why we would. Promote secular values that don't necessarily appeal to religion, but basically values that just about everyone can agree on. Overcome feelings of isolation. I can speak to this one personally. Whenever I first came out as an atheist living here in Mississippi, I had no idea who I could talk to. I started talking to my friends, and they didn't mind. They had known me all my life, and I'd known them all their lives. But the thing is, there's only so far you can actually go with them whenever they're religious. You can talk to them about all sorts of topics, but when religion or politics comes up, you can only go so far. Eventually, you'll get to a point where they become uncomfortable talking about certain areas. And basically, that was the point where I realized I have to find more atheists that I can talk to so I can discuss these things with. Dispel misconceptions of atheism. One of the things that I'm hopefully doing right now, showing you that we're not bad people and stuff like that. Here at Mississippi State, we actually have a group, the Freethinkers, Agnostics, and Atheists at Mississippi State University, and we are a very proud affiliate of the Secular Student Alliance. We started finding more groups throughout the South, and eventually I kind of got to the point where I was like, hey, it'd be kind of cool if we started talking to the other groups to see exactly what activities they do, that sort of thing, and get some networking going on. Well, we actually created this here at Mississippi State. It's called Sauce for All. Southern Atheists United for Candid Expression, Free Thought, Open-Mindedness, Reason, and Living Life. Our motto is, we bring together the Godless of the South. Currently, we've indexed a little bit over 250 groups throughout the South. So if you think that atheists are basically unicorns or invisible, or we're invisible for the most part, but we're not unicorns. We're all around you. So we're very common, actually. Here's what I was talking about earlier. What can atheists believe in? This is like one of the most common questions I get. And this is something that, like, I don't know, it's almost as people say, if you don't believe in God, you have to believe in nothing. And I'll give you a few examples of that. But we believe in people. I believe in my friends, my family, stuff like that. I mean, like, we're here, we have to make the best of this. We believe in liberty, civil rights, free, equal rights for everybody. Everybody needs those. Education, that should speak for itself. The better educated you are, the better off you are. Love, the power of reason, happiness, and charity. And those are just to name a few things. Here's a little screenshot I took from a friend a few days ago. He's actually an atheist, the guy that posted this, but he had a question. He's like, here's a question I'd like to put up for discussion. Is atheism anti-Semitic? I said, nah, atheism only means that you don't believe in God. That's the only conclusion that you can draw from someone who labels himself as an atheist. Of course, somebody right underneath that said, atheism is believing in nothing. No hope, nothing. I was like, oh, thanks. I didn't realize I believed in nothing. I actually have a very happy and fulfilling life, but I'm glad she brought that to my attention. So, and I was like, no, that's entirely incorrect. Atheism is not believing in a God. That's it. I'm an atheist and I believe in education, liberty, love, the power of reason, blah, blah, blah. The thing about that is like, the reason why I said can believe in things earlier, and I emphasized on it, is because atheists have different priorities. And the only thing that all atheists have in common is that they don't believe in God. Not all of them are as loving as others. Some of them aren't as happy as others, obviously. And then there's some that like aren't very, they don't actually use the power of reason. They don't rationalize things. You can have atheists who don't believe in God, but yet they'll believe in astrology and science and stuff like that. So that's kind of, it kind of makes things weird sometimes. Here's another one. It's basically the same thing. This one actually happened like 2 or 3 days ago, January 19th. So recently there was an article posted on CNN.com of this woman who says, why raise my children without God? And I just kind of joke around at first. And then this woman comes up here in the red. She says, honestly, I feel sad for her that she has nothing to believe in or nothing to look forward to. Again, I jump in because I'm just kind of like, oh my goodness, I don't see why people think that. I mean, we have so much to look forward to and stuff. But I'm like, hey, I'm an atheist and I have tons of stuff to believe in and look forward to. I believe in charity, the power of reason and love. I believe in my fellow humans, friends and family, liberty and education, to name a few things. I look forward to tomorrow and making the best of my days while simultaneously minimizing pain and suffering for others and myself. I do all of this without any type of supernatural force. So that kind of gets to me sometimes, but I just kind of jump in and give my opinion. So we have secular charities, as I mentioned charity earlier, but why would we have to make secular charities? I mean, there are plenty of really nice, really good religious groups out there that have charities. Why make an atheistic one? Well, it really comes down to just like different things, such as, are those charities something that we're willing to support whenever they use a good portion of, like, say, their funding and money to, like, say, hand out like a Bible or something like that, and give Bibles to people that need food. Well, you can think that handing out Bibles and stuff is good stuff and is good things, and you're welcome to think that way. But as an atheist, I'm just kind of like, well, I think we can put the use of that money to a little bit better things, like food, housing, stuff like that. Since we have the Foundation Beyond Belief, they actually do stuff like that. Their motto is humanity at work. They've saved homes. They fund science education. They increased access to health care whenever the earthquakes in Haiti occurred, and the Japanese tsunami. And more importantly, this is something that, like, I think everybody here well, I can't say everybody, but a lot of people here they'll like. They have this thing called Challenge the Gap. And what that is where basically, although religious charities and secular charities are on opposite ends of the spectrum, every now and then they'll run into some stuff that overlap, such as both of them probably want to, like, help feed people, help the homeless, stuff like that. Well, The challenge the gap thing is where basically they get together and they compromise and they actually put those funds and work together to achieve something greater than themselves. I think that's pretty cool. Atheists also have their down times, just like ordinary people, because atheists are ordinary people. So whenever you need a therapist, if you're an atheist, and you don't want to go to one that's a religious therapist who is probably going to say, oh, well, you need God in your life. Well, an atheist would be like, well, I'm not entirely certain of that. I think I'm going to go to somebody else. But it's kind of hard to find atheistic therapists. Luckily, Dr. Dale Ray started the Secular Therapist Project, and as of last night, I actually wasn't going to include this. I didn't really have it didn't really dawn on me to include this into the presentation until last night. He actually sent out a message to a group saying they finally hit 100 secular therapists in the project, so that's a little milestone for them. Congratulations. So I went ahead and put that in there. Non-profit organizations. Secular Student Alliance. This is who FAMSU is an affiliate of. American Humanist Association. The Secular Student Alliance mainly deals with collegiate and high school groups or students. The American Humanist Association will deal with community groups, where basically if you're like, say, the city of Starkville were to start a humanist or atheistic society, the American Humanist Association would be one of the people you go to. Let's look for a few misconceptions about atheism. Politics. All atheists are liberals and they hate God. That's not true. I don't hate God. I'm a liberal, but I don't hate God. I don't hate anything I don't believe in. But the thing is, we're not all liberals. In fact, you can be whatever you want to be. You can be a Democrat, Republican, a Tea Party, Libertarian, Independent, etc. Or you could be apolitical, like a baby. So, you can do whatever you want. I've actually met an atheist from just about every one of these, I'm pretty sure. I hadn't actually met one that identifies as independent yet, but I know Democratic ones, Republican atheists. One member here used to be a Tea Party atheist. I know a Libertarian, but the independent one kind of eludes me right now. All atheists are scientists or philosophers. Some people tend to equate somebody, oh, if you're an atheist, that means you know everything about science and that's what you live by. I've met several atheists who knew very little about science. They didn't come to their atheism through science or philosophy or anything like that. Basically, there are some people who are just raised in secular families, and the idea of God is not promoted at all. It's basically, they're like, oh, well, we don't really see a reason to promote this idea, so they just kind of leave it out, and they grow up atheists. That's it. All atheists are angry old white men. Again, that's enough. Atheism is a religion too. Except we don't have any holy texts, we have no hierarchy, no rules or laws given by any type of divine authority to abide by, no rituals, and no prayers. Atheism is very diverse. Earlier, whenever I said the whole angry old white men type thing, well, we actually showed how diverse we were last March. March 24, 2012, some students from Mississippi State actually went to the Reason Rally. It was the largest gathering of the secular movement in world history. Over 20,000 atheists went to Washington, D.C. and just hung out for a few hours and had a great time. In the rain. That's right. In the rain. We actually, through the project I told you about earlier, the Sauce for All thing, we actually got into contact with several groups across 3 different states, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. We had people from LSU come up, Millsaps, Alabama, Ole Miss, and several community groups. This is us when we actually got back from the trip. So we were all very tired, and we had the bus drivers take our picture. 18-hour drive up there, 18 hours up there, 18 hours back. If you notice, there's a baby right here. A baby went with us. And whenever I first heard that there was going to be a baby going with us up there, I was just like, that's not good. This is going to be bad. But I kid you not, that baby was the quietest baby I've probably ever heard. It didn't cry the entire trip. So that was like really cool. So I'm not sure if that's because it was an atheist or not. maybe it knew it was a good company. All right, more misconceptions. The most common and probably the most annoying. Atheists have no morals. This is one of my favorite quotations from one of my favorite people who's an atheist activist, Matt Dillahunty. I get my limits from a rational consideration of the consequences of my actions. That's how I determine what's moral. I get it from a foundation that says my actions have an effect on those people around me, and theirs have an effect on me. And if we're going to live cooperatively and share space, we have to recognize that impact and that my freedom to swing my arm ends at their nose. The platinum rule, because the golden rule is a little bit outdated. It's been around for a very long time, but when you think about it, the golden rule kind of has an assumption in it. Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. It makes an assumption that basically they want to be treated the way that you want to be treated. Instead, let's do it this way. Treat others the way that they want to be treated. It's a little bit better. That actually has nothing to do with atheism, though. That's just something that I think we should all be doing. And that's a personal opinion. I've injected into this. Murder rates are actually lower in more secular nations and higher in more religious nations where belief in God is widespread. A secular country is a better country, unfortunately, for many people that like to believe otherwise. That's something that actually stunned a lot of people when this information started coming out. Many people like to believe that the more religious a place is, the better it is. That's not necessarily true. Atheists and agnostics, when compared to religious people, are actually less likely to be nationalistic, racist, anti-Semitic, dogmatic, ethnocentric, and authoritarian. Secularism also correlates to higher education levels. Atheists and other secular people are also much more likely to support women's rights and gender equality, as well as gay and lesbian rights. The future of atheism, where's it headed? Nuns are on the rise. A recent study showed back in September and October that nuns are on the rise. Whenever they did a survey, and whenever people filled it out, they had all these different options of their religion. The people that affiliated with not a religion, basically went up from I think 8% down to like 15 to 20%, somewhere in there. So nuns are on the rise. Secularism is growing. Secular groups are increasing, getting more organized, and Protestantism is declining. That's in the same article. I was actually mentioned in that article. It's from USA Today. Keep calm and think critically. And that's pretty much it.